Hello everyone, and welcome to another video at my YouTube channel and blog. I wanted to squeeze in another couple of Halloween cards. So this one is playing with the Meow-lloween stamp set by Art Impressions. Everybody knows I love Art Impressions, and they make just the cutest stamp sets. So I had seen a video done by Kelly Ladabola where she colored the stamp set and did a glow cast on the cats. So I wanted to try and recreate that. Not as good as Kelly, but I think I did a decent job. So there's a lot of Copic coloring in this card, and I did some distress inking for the background. So lots of different fun techniques. So I hope you enjoy watching all these different techniques, and I hope you learned something. I started with the bats because cutting out to make the mask for the bats was really tough. Their little bitty legs, and in between the legs and the bat wings and stuff, I tried to cut it out and it just was too tiny. So I came up with this other idea. I went ahead and Copic colored the bat wings using the Cool Gray series. I will have all the outline of all the Copic colors I use listed on my blog. The video description is just not big enough to do all that and link all the products and yada yada yada. So that will all be on my blog. So I used the Cool Grays to color in these cute little bats, and after I colored them in, I used a Versamark marker pen and put Versamark ink all over the little bats. And then I coated them in clear embossing powder and embossed it. So when I go to do my background inking, I can just rub over the top of them and then wipe them off, and it's all good. And then it gives them a fun little shine that I thought that was kind of cute too. So it worked out really well. I'll be doing that again, when the need arises. So here I am, just heat setting that and getting that all done. I made the mask. It wasn't too bad to cut out. I think, it just took me a couple of minutes to cut it out. And I was able to get in all the little areas of this without a problem. So I'm going to start by just inking up some ground with, I think, ground Espresso is what I use, because I wanted a fairly dark shade for the ground. And then I'm just going to cut some rounded corners off these Post-it notes, and use Post-it notes to cover up and start inking the sky here. And I use some dark blues. I'll have that listed all on my blog as well. I don't have it in front of me, but I used a dark blue, and then I used two different colors of blue, a lighter blue and a darker blue, and then seedless preserves, and then finish it off with some smoked soot, just to give it a really dark, interesting, night sky. Wanted that little bit of purple in there to, for a Halloween kind of color. And it looks like a hot mess right now. It really does. I'm just using Nina 80 pound, and I was having a hard time getting my blending smooth. But after I get done with it, you cannot tell that it's a little splotchy. And so I wanted to give some more interest to the sky, make it look like a sky. So I got out my MFT cloud stencil and used some, not pumice stone, the darker gray in the distress inks to give me some clouds. And now I'm going to go to the Copic coloring. I'll come back to that sky after I finish the Copic coloring. And here I'm just putting back all my distress inks. I love these little distress ink tins that hold all the little cubes. I've got one for each color family, and it just keeps them so much better organized in my drawer for all my distress inks, than when I had them all loose. I really love having these tins. So now I'm going to start in on the cats, and I just picked two different brown color families, and I'll use the lighter spectrum, you know, for one cat, and then the darker spectrum of that group for the other cat, and I'll just vary it up, and so I can use less markers but get, you know, different colored cats on my image. And here I am adding that yellow in for the cast from the glowing, you know, pumpkins. The one in the front, he's going to have the most glow, and then the one on the top of that pumpkin, he's got some glow because he's pretty close to the holes of the pumpkin too. And then the two coming out of the top of the pumpkins, they have a little bit of glow. And then on the one peeking from behind the pumpkin, I didn't really put much glow on him because he's kind of behind the pumpkin, so I didn't really figure he would have just a whole lot of glow. So and when you cut out mask and stuff, you know, it's not ultra perfect. So with my darkest marker and stuff, I can fix that little gap that you have, and then it looks just seamless. So here I added the yellow glow first, and then I'm laying in my darkest shadows and things. I changed up. Sometimes I went light to dark, sometimes I went dark to light. Just depend on how the little character was going. And he looks really, really yellow, but in the pictures, he is a light tan cat. He looks very yellow on right here on the video footage, but he is really just a light tan kitty cat. Sorry, my head keeps getting in the way. I had to keep looking over the top to really see the lines well and everything, to try and decide where I wanted shadows and the highlights and everything. And that little kitty cat, he was darkest. So I used my darkest brown marker, and I went right next to all the pumpkins and the kitty cats to give a ground shadow. And I think I came in with some cool grays, or warm grays, to give more of a shadow. But that was kind of it for the base and underneath. So now we're going to start coloring all the pumpkins. And again, I'll have those markers listed. And I think this is where I really experimented a lot with going from light to dark or dark to light. And I think I decided that just going from dark to light, and then I came back and just darkened up my lines and deepest shadows again at the very end after I finished coloring the little pumpkin, because I found that I lost them a little bit when I kept going over everything with the other two colors, the mid-tone and the lightest tone, that I lost some of that definition. So at the end I went back and just reinforced those darkest lines with my darkest color. And I used, you know, the same yellows that I used on the glow on the kitties, you know, of course, in the mouth of the pumpkins. So we're getting close to wrapping up the coloring here. It did take me probably about an hour or a little bit more to color this, and that's with picking out the colors too. I never pre-plan my color. I like these mossy green colors for the stems of the pumpkins. I think that's a more realistic green color group for the stems. And here I'm using a blue to kind of match in with the background, just to finish up getting any of those little gap areas I was talking about before. And it just kind of gives a little shadow behind the image too. I thought it kind of helped make it pop off the page. And it took my black memento marker to darken up all their little whiskers, just to help them, and the noses and the eyes too. And so now I'm going to use my Signo Uniball white pigment pen, and I'm just going to go in and add some highlights and stuff in different places. And there I am with my head again, my goodness. And I'm using my clear Spica pen by Copic to add a little glitter to the inside of the pumpkin mouths. They have, it's really small, and that Spica pen has a really fine kind of point to it, so you can get into small places and add a little glimmer and shine to it. So now here I'm going to take my Copic opaque white, and I'm going to create stars. Just going to do some splatter to create stars. And I use my paintbrush to make some bigger stars there. And now it looks like a complete scene. I did get some splatters on my bats, and I just wiped them off with my finger or in a baby wipe. I decided to go over the mouse and everything of the jack-o'-lanterns just to really help that glittery glow stand out with the glossy accents, and I think it really did help it to stand out. So then I decided to heat emboss the Halloween with some silver embossing powder, and I thought it just didn't stand out enough, so I decided to go around it with my white Signo pen, and so it just kind of stands out a little bit more. I've seen again Kelly Latabola do this. When her stamp goes into a colored area, she will outline it with the white, and it really does help make it stand out. So now for the inside of the card, just taking one of the other images in Cobblestone Ink by Simon Says and stamping that on the inside, and then with silver Delicata ink, I just stamped a sentiment from the inside, or from the stamp on the inside of the card, and then just attach the front to it, and that's the end of our card for today. Thank you for watching. Please check out the video description below for all the links.